Due to a mistake, the clip that was uploaded on the 3rd of March did not completely upload. So here is the second segment of that clip. And if you want to comment on that, I would greatly appreciate that. This is DaviD TaL. You can stay until the end now. That is more or less the situation on the ground here. The American envoy, Wycliffe, is coming to the Middle East, I think, tomorrow to see if he can reach some kind of an agreement. Both sides are using the holidays. We're going into Ramadan, which is a holy month for the Muslims. We're going into Passover, which is a holy period for Israel. And the Israeli government is saying, okay, let's continue the first stage of the ceasefire till the end of Ramadan. That's about a month. Release some more of the hostages. We will allow more aid to go in, and the fighting will not continue. That is a negotiation that is being negotiated right now. They might agree to it. I mean, we might have this kind of agreement that actually settles in a little while, but we're going to have to wait and see what is going to happen on that front. Israel, in the meantime, is pulling off some major work in the West Bank. The West Bank, as in Judea and Samaria, mostly the northern part of the West Bank. There's massive security operations that are going into the refugee camps in the West Bank that are rooting out Hamas elements in the West Bank. I don't know if you know, but there are Hamas elements in the West Bank. The Palestinian Authority, which is the de facto ruler, I mean, they have autonomy. I don't know if you know that, but they have autonomy in the West Bank. The Palestinian Authority is allowing Israel to go in and actually root out all of the militant jihadi elements. And so they're still fighting in the West Bank, and it's going to be very interesting to see how all of this plays out. For me personally, there's a situation or a feeling of deja vu. A lot of the fighting is going on in the refugee camps in Jenin. And I personally have actually seen quite a bit of action in the refugee camps in Jenin. I hope this time they'll be able to root it out. On the northern front, a couple of very interesting things have been happening. And in order to explain this, I think I'm going to see if I can pull up a map of the northern part of Israel, the border with Lebanon on one side, and the border with Syria on the other side. And let's go into a little bit of what's happening here. On the border with Lebanon, we have now a ceasefire agreement with Lebanon that basically is supposed to be based on a older ceasefire agreement from 2006, which means all of the Hezbollah fighters and everything that is not Lebanese army has to move away from the border with Israel. And Israel has been cleaning off the border, literally actually cleaning the shrubbery and cleaning the trees and creating a no man's land between us and the Hezbollah, between us and Lebanon, and actually is standing very hard on not allowing the Hezbollah, which is the Iranian proxy that actually fought a war against Israel for the last year and a half, not allow them back to the southern part of the border. A couple of words about the Hezbollah. They are literally falling apart. The Hezbollah was an Iranian proxy that was armed, trained, funded by Iran, but managed to get its tentacles into the Lebanese political system. And as a result of that, we're very deeply embedded into the Lebanese government. They did a terrible job, but again, they were so strong that nobody could do anything. Now that Israel has smashed them very seriously, the whole high top ranking have been taken out by Israel. The leaders that are left over are not as strong. They have a problem with military force. If you remember, the whole beeper event actually took out quite a few of their mid and high level commanders. And the Hezbollah is not the major force it was in the past. Now, don't get me wrong. They're not done. They're not over. They're not finished. But they don't have the power to stand up. And there's more and more voices inside Lebanon led by American elements inside Lebanon that are pushing to move the Hezbollah out, train, equip, and get the Lebanese army, okay, in place on the border with Israel, and create the stability there. And there have been rumors lately of American envoys in Lebanon trying to tie Lebanon into this mega deal, this Abrahamic Accords that we're talking about. So that's the Lebanese side. Let's talk about the Syrian side. Ever since Syria disintegrated or self-destructed, there is a need for the Syrian government to reconnect or rebuild this Syrian identity. But Syria is also a very fractured, very diverse community. There are different kind of Muslims, and you've probably heard the term Shia and Sunni. There are Druze minorities. The Druze are a weird minority that lives in different places in the Middle East. Some of them are in Lebanon. A lot of them are in Israel. And again, we have large Druze communities both in Israel and on the Golan Heights, and a large Druze community inside Syria. And because Syria has fallen apart, okay, there's a lot of sectorial fighting inside Syria. There was a lot of, well, they've been after a civil war. And the new Syrian government is trying to put the Druze communities under their authority. The problem is that there was very bad blood between the Syrian Shiite communities and the Druze communities, and the Druze are standing up and fighting against the Syrian militias, against the Syrian government. And here's the issue. Israel has moved its border into the buffer zone in Syria, but we are afraid that another Lebanon, remember, Lebanon became what it became because of the weakness of the area around or close to our border, the weakness of the central government. We see something like this coming together. And the Druze who live on the southern part of Syria, not far from the border with Israel, are saying, we are willing to come under Israel's security umbrella in order to be a buffer zone, basically. Now, it makes sense because we have large Druze community that are literally intermarried with them in Syria. And it also makes sense because if they could come and work in our economy, then they would have something for this. We would have something. And Israel is trying to create a demilitarized zone between the border with the Golan Heights and the whole area south of Lebanon. Excuse me, and the whole area south of Damascus. Now, if you look at the map, okay, the Jews are on this side, the Arabs are on this side, and it came to a head a little while ago when the Syrian government attacked a Druze community inside Syria, not far from Damascus, and Benjamin Netanyahu, together with Katz, got on Israeli TV and made it very, very clear to the Syrian government, you stay away from the Jews, otherwise you're going to have to deal with us. So this new connection between Israel and the Druze and the territory on the southern part of the Golan, of Syria, the northern part of Israel, is becoming very, very interesting. And